starting late. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. I'm only in that. Okay, we need to adopt the agenda for tonight. Is there a motion on that?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, we've got a motion to amend or accept the minutes of meetings held on November 6th and November 18th.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I've got, one budget transfer for the 2020 budget. And this was due to an error on my part. And what we need to authorize is taking $1,200 from A 1110.4, which is the justice's contractual, and adding it to, A 1110.11, which is the pays for the 4 court clerks. So I'll make that motion. Second by
Second, yeah.
Bickerton. It doesn't change the bottom line,
No.
taxes aren't gonna go up, it's just that I had misunderstood what I was told, so I was shorted him by $1,200, so, we got a motion, a second, all in favor? Opposed? So carried. Okay, in front of you is a list of the audited vendors' claims. These are we're paying 2 batches of bills, November bills and the December bills. So, does somebody wanna make a motion on that?
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, we've got no correspondence. Public presentations. This is the electrical co-op, right? Councilperson
Yes.
Bickerton.
Yep, and we have, KV.
Okay,
Do you want me to come up
take-
here?
you take this is your committee, so.
Yeah, if you could, just explain the resolution that we would need to continue the conversation.
Okay, do you want a little brief, what is community choice aggregation? So community choice aggregation, what we're talking, I hate having my back to residents, you know, stand like that. What we're talking about is creating a new program for town residents that links them in an aggregated fashion with communities around the region to do a bulk purchase of electricity. So this would offer a different supplier for residents and small businesses to purchase electricity from. And the village of Kinderhook has already joined our aggregation. That's what the resolution says. It basically says we want to explore community choice aggregation. We want to see if this is a good idea for our residents and small businesses. And we would like to work with my organization, which is the Municipal Electric and Gas Alliance. We've already formed an aggregation in this region and it's moving forward. So there's still a time for the town of Kinderhook to join it if you're interested. And, you know, we go out into I present at meetings like this for residents. I have, you know, meetings at senior centers and, you know, at libraries to talk about what the program is and what it would do and how it would help homeowners and small business owners drive down the costs of their electric bill and also do other things like protect them from predatory ESCOs that may come out and run different scams. And another big advantage of community choice aggregation is that it can connect all residents with 100% renewable electricity. And it's a program that would be authorized by the town, set up, and all of the residents would be part of it.
And it does not include the municipal use of electricity,
That's correct.
right?
You have to have a certain classification on your meter. So if your meter, some municipal accounts like water pumps and things like that might fall into that service class. But our organization does a separate program for local governments to control their electricity costs. That's not this. This is for residents and small businesses that use less than 2,000 kilowatt hours a month. So the smaller users that have a harder time using their buying power to get a good deal, aggregation is a bulk purchase. So you join with 40,000 other households from communities of Saratoga Springs, the town of Bethlehem, all the way down to the village of Kinderhook. Come together, we do a bid, and we get a better price for everyone, by working together. So, that the resolution does not say you have to create a CCA program. What it says is that if you do CCA, you'll work with our organization, because as soon as you sign it, we go out and start educating residents and putting on radio ads and talking about CCA.
So that's the reason for that resolution, that we accept it, but then we go with a different company.
Right,
For
so
instance, and then there's always the opt-out.
right.
And
So-
at what point do you opt in? After
So-
the initial,
The first step is to do education and outreach, and you get a read from your residents if they're interested in this or not. And you'll hear from the feedback in those sessions if people are open to it, if they like the renewable piece, if they have questions. We go out, we do a bid, we get pricing. The municipal officials have sign off on whether or not, once they see the pricing, they think that's a good deal for their residents. At that point, if you say, look, that's not a good enough price, we back away, there's nothing lost. You
and
have
what
the
kind of
option.
time frame is there for that?
So we're looking to
From-
do the bid, after you sign the administrative agreement, which is what the resolution authorizes the board to do, sign the administrative agreement, we go out and start working for you before the program begins. It's really just to protect us, because we're starting to expend resources to do that on your behalf before the program begins. You can walk away from CCA at any time, but it protects us from you walking away and going to another administrator when we've already done some of the work, so.
I see.
Once we get pricing, you decide, is the town in, is the town not in? Once the town's in, we do another round of education and outreach, so now people wanna know, what am I gonna pay? Not just what is this all about, actually, how much is this gonna cost?
Yes.
Is this a good deal for me individually? So once the town decides, are we in or out, each resident can decide if they wanna back away. If a resident does nothing, they will automatically be enrolled. If they're automatically enrolled and then decide they don't like it, the program is designed for residents to be able to get out of it at any time or come into it at any time if they become eligible. So it's designed to give residents an additional choice. And the opt-out nature of the program is designed expressly to get the best pricing for everyone by aggregating all of the residents. That's why it requires municipal approval and a local law process on your part. So you'll pass a local law, you already have the authority to do a program, you just have to give it to yourselves through passing a local law to say, we're gonna have a community choice aggregation.
And again, there's that initial deadline of January 1st for the resolution to say if we would begin the conversation with
Right.
you. And then,
You would
what
immediately wanna
is there a
start,
firm,
March first is our drop dead date to have all of the local laws passed. Because we have a host of communities that are passing them now, and they'll be ready for us to put them into a bid. So we get all of the information on the residents in those areas, we know how much electricity is consumed by those households in those areas, and we can go out to bid to suppliers to say, for all of these customers, give us a price. For 100% renewable, for non-renewable, just grid mix, and give us some options, and make it a fixed price. So, once we go to bid and we see the pricing, that's when the elected officials can say, great, let's do it, no, we don't wanna do it. Or, great, let's do it, and I want the renewable energy for my community, for everyone. Or, great, let's do it, but we'll take the grid mix of electricity. So there's lots of decisions on your part, and then also the homeowners can make those decisions
and
as
it's
well.
a 2-year, but of course you can anybody can opt out
Yes.
at any time, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
typically a 2-year
non-binding.
contract for that.
We look for suppliers to give us a variety of pricing terms, so we want a 2-year price, we want a 3-year price. We wanna see a sweet spot pricing, if that's 27 months, or if it's 19 months, we wanna know where can they get the price the lowest. So we get a variety of options, and the first round is really signing the administrative agreement just says, look, we wanna explore this, and you'll find out during your public hearing process if your residents like it or not, if you really wanna go forward.
And then one last question, and then typically, cause this is kind of a mad rush for us, for the
Right.
town. Typically, what's the amount of time that you give this to a municipality?
So
Cause
there's-
right now we're talking, if it was January, that we,
Mhm.
this was January, February, March 1st is the.
So you would have.
It's like a 2-month,
Yeah, so there's a 60-day mandatory education and outreach period. During that time period is when towns and villages go forward in passing their local law. and noticing their public hearing from their residents, and then you get the feedback during those education and outreach sessions. So if you go to vote on your local law and you've had a bunch of negative feedback, you know
Right.
that the community is not interested in
Right.
CCA.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at that point, we never charge a fee, we're not, in it to rope you into any situation, it's designed to guard against that. So really, the village is moving forward, so this is also decided at the most local level possible. So if the town of Kinderhook decided to do this, the village of Valatia those residents within the village are only eligible if their village does it. You see what I mean? So,
Yes.
right
Yeah.
now, the village of Kinderhook made the decision, initially, they've been working with us for a few months. They had to act on their own behalf, because just because the town does it, doesn't mean the two villages are automatically included.
Right.
Those village
Yes.
residents would
Yeah.
need to act separately.
Okay.
So I handed out some
Yeah.
materials, and I also have some materials we hand out for residents, just kind of frequently asked questions. We have some materials on our website as well, some videos if you don't wanna read through a paragraph, but you wanna just go through our YouTube channel. We've had some town supervisors do kind of a question and answer with our CCA team. I'm on some of them, my colleague Louise Gava is on some of them. So you can get a sense of how does this work? How does this support renewable electricity? And, all the various timeframes are in there as well.
So we're gonna have Andy Howard will look at the resolution.
Sure.
Yeah, you'd be happy to, and then if he has any questions, he can
You can
contact you.
Reach out to me,
Okay,
happy to help answer any questions, so.
thank you for
Yeah,
coming
it's moving
out.
fast for you guys, just
Yeah.
because a lot of the communities have already progressed through, and we don't wanna slow down too much, but,
And again, cause
Yeah.
this is like this is a wave going through, and then you could wait a year or
Yeah.
whenever for another wave.
you
of,
could wait 6 months. If it took you longer, you could hop in on this aggregation later. It's just if you wanna be involved in it from the onset of the program, when it
okay.
starts rolling, you
Yeah.
should. Or you could
Okay.
wait and see, it's a
Yeah.
new program in New York State. New York State just started offering this
I see.
a year ago. Our organization did the first CCA program in New York outside of the pilot, which the pilot was done in Westchester County, which is totally different utility territory, totally different rates.
Yeah,
And we did an aggregation in the southern tier, and that was the guinea pig for the state. And now they're popping up, you'll see them here and there, there's some in the Hudson Valley that are coming on board with different administrators, but the capital region one grew really fast. We had a lot of really interested communities that wanted to jump, so.
thank
So
you.
no pressure if you
Yep.
wanna take time to
Yep.
think it over,
Thank you,
okay?
thank you so
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down.
Kim on to these, so you can hang on to them for residents, if you
Alright.
need them.
All right, thank you, Kate.
Okay, thank you. We got committee and departmental reports. Did you have anything, Nancy?
Yeah, I just have one quick one, that, the school committee that I went to, is that, they're realizing that there's a lot of mental health, needs in the school, and according to New York State guidelines right now, there's a program in place through New York State, and luckily, this school has a wellness committee for mental health, and they do training and seminars and educate the staff, and help students teach and aware of a lot, and they also need some extra help, and they're looking at some other training to come in force. Also, the capital project will start in late June, and there was some discussion about that. Suggest that you go to your school board meeting on that.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, public comments. There any public comments?
We just wanted to follow up, Pat, on our
Okay.
meeting last with the YMCA.
Okay,
Okay.
So, 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
Peter and I went up to the Y, we met with their Vice President of Property Management for the Capital District YMCA, and with the Executive Director of the East Greenbush YMCA. To get an idea of the size of the East Greenbush YMCA, they serve between 1,200 to 1,400 patrons a day, 16,000 members at East Greenbush YMCA. That's why they're busting at the seams. What do they want to do about Columbia County is the question. And yes, they have interest, but it is not high on their flagpole right now, because they're in the process of opening up 3 other YMCA's, and they want to get those done before they start something new. And then they want to be able to do a survey or a study to see how interested Columbia County really is in a YMCA. So their major concern is being able to maintain the operational cost of the facility. They aren't concerned in being able to raise the money, which they would have to do. They're just really good at that, so they feel they could do a campaign and they could raise the money for a facility. But the major concern is being able to maintain the operation of that facility, and 40% of the budget goes just to keep the pool. So that's a big nut.
Did they say how many members they need?
No, we're not even at that point, Phil.
So the big push here was to get a pool. So what they said was that was, as Tom just mentioned, was the biggest cost of running a Y. That's why they're a little hesitant. So the closest one is across the river, other than East Greenbush. It's across the river at Coxsackie.
Coxsackie, which did not get a pool.
Does not have a pool. It's just a health club facility. They have basketball courts and indoor track. So in our discussion with the Y, we tried to get them to understand, and they're situated in East Greenbush near a assisted living facility. So part of what we were thinking here was that in what they use the Y for, the assisted living facilities, they have clients that come from the facility, which is next door to the Y, to use the pool and to use the facilities. What we were thinking here was that as we develop senior communities and Barnwell Nursing Facility and the other, any other developments of assisted living facilities in town or in northern Columbia County, that they would also utilize this facility that would be built in Kinderhook. So that would add, so we tried to get them to understand that's another option for them, because there are already existing healthcare facilities here that could use that for additional rehabilitation. The other thing we talked about with them was that there's a sports opportunity, a sports complex. AFRIM uses a big indoor soccer facility. We talked about perhaps they could develop some type of indoor soccer facility or indoor sports facility that can be used all year round, like an AFRIMS. It doesn't have to be at that scale, but whatever. Just to encourage them or give them additional opportunities or ideas on why they should develop here. We think that this facility in Kinderhook will draw from all of northern Columbia County and perhaps as far south as Hudson. As the commuters come through here and go to Albany, they'll stop here and work out and continue on to work or on their way back. So we think it's a real good location. But again, the Y's concern is, can they go a little bit slower? They want to survey the area. We asked for some statistics on zip codes. We're going to get that maybe after the new year. So we've asked for some data. But it's not like they shut the idea down. As Tom mentioned, they're in the middle of some construction, some rehab already. But what we do know is that their facility in East Greenbush needs to expand, and we're trying to convince them to take those dollars and bring it to Columbia County. Now, their concern is that if they don't want to just relocate their population or their patrons, they don't want to take 3,000 people from East Greenbush, move them to Columbia County, and not gain any new membership here. So those are some of the business model decisions that they're running through their mind before they work it. But they work a little more methodologically, and they want to do a little bit of analysis, a little bit of surveying in the very near future. So it's not an immediate decision that they're going to make. So what I was hoping for is gonna take a little bit longer time. Now, I would ask the board to consider, if you're interested in this idea of having a facility with a pool in Kinderhook, northern Columbia County, if you would allow Tom and I to explore two other options as we pursue the YMCA. The first option would be to talk to the health club existing in Kinderhook, ask them if they're interested in, or if they have the capacity in the building to develop aquatic recreation. That would be the second option. As we pursue Y, let's look for other options if we're interested, if the board is interested in pursuing this, or if we could pursue it for you. The other option would be to go out and look for private investors to develop and manage the facility. And the whole concept here is that Kinderhook Town would allow these investors or the Y to utilize space that we may have at State Farm Road. And the whole idea is that we pursue some developer or some person that's familiar with running these programs successfully, so that the town doesn't have the liability or the cost of the labor, of the recreation, of maintaining the facility and supporting the labor. So if we could pursue those two other options, if the board is interested.
And let me also add, if I may, the other thing East Greenbush is very big in are after-school programs and child care. So we talked about, let's think outside of the box here and how we might generate other partnerships besides just the town. Maybe the school would be interested in some way partnering with the Y for after-school programs, for aquatic programs, and out of their budget, they would pay a certain amount of those operational fees to do that. So there's a lot of homework to do here. We're really thinking outside of the box of the traditional Y to get them to think a little differently. But we're still meeting, they're still willing to meet with us. We just gotta get past the holidays here and get past 3 new Ys opened up and then see if it doesn't progress a little more.
I will say, there's also, the basketball program, they're busting at the seams. So that's an idea too.
Basketball is busting at the seams. Pickleball is the most popular sport growing right now in America, and we
I
have
did hear that too.
no place to use it around here.
So their standard Y would have an indoor track, not a giant one, but an indoor running track and a basketball court, and the one in East Greenbush has the pool. And that's the issue for the Ys. They tell us that the pool is the one that costs them the most money. But that's what we need here, that's what people are asking for, but we know that for the town to maintain it is just prohibitive. It's not something we should, that we're good at, I don't think, that municipalities are good at. Some are, some aren't, but, I don't think we're in a position to go for that option.
There's
So
a pool at Winding Brook too.
It's an outdoor,
Is there any way to make that an indoor? Pool?
that could be part of our pursuit.
I mean, if people are willing to, start a campaign to provide for the maintenance and, the cost, then that would be a good option too. And you're contributing to the,
Yeah, I think we're looking for the overall
With the health and
recreational
fitness.
facility, right, with everything in one location,
agree.
the locker rooms and the pool, the basketball, the pool, and the running track. And the programs, so they do education, they do educational outreach, fitness, physical fitness. Also, senior citizens go there, they have, what is it called, the golden sneaker, or the gray sneaker?
Silver sneakers,
You're not going up here?
Not yet.
you have to belong to a certain
Right,
program.
right.
Yeah.
But the idea is to get them, to get them to come here and to open up and explore all those options that are not mainstream or not just, as Tom said, outside the box. Getting them to think outside the box. So those other options, exploring with Winding Brook, we can ask Winding Brook, but I think we're looking for an overall recreational facility.
well, if you're thinking, also, the health club over there, and you could, if they had interest, we could also possibly expand and create health programs there for
Right.
people.
Right.
And then still also do the pool at Winding Brook, so you're using additional facilities and, using existing.
We're proposing that we would explore those options and
Yeah.
come back and continue this idea, this concept, as we wait for the Y to do their work.
How long did they say, the why? We gotta get going, so, how long did
Right,
they
they didn't
say?
give us a defined, time to
Alright.
turn around, but they did say it's gonna take a little time because they wanna go out and do the survey and come around and look around and.
We have some time to hash this out and think about it all, that's where I look at it. And there's
Yeah.
other options within the town and everything, but like you said, let's get through the holidays and the transition of the board that has to take over and everything else, so I think we should just,
But researching it, they should be able to, do
Oh, I'm
the
not saying they
research
don't,
and-
but why is not.
But
ready
what we're
to do
asking is
anything yet.
that, if you don't mind, is that, we're willing to put our time
I understand that,
behind
but I
this,
like,
if the board is willing to continue to support this concept of some sort of
Right.
Do
a,
the research and the
Facility.
legwork.
Right, we're acting as a little committee here on our own, a private committee, and we're just asking if we have your support to go ahead and continue this and come back at some future time and give you a full report. That's what we're asking for. Because if the board's not interested, then we just stop.
I think that's a great idea, Peter. I mean, it's something that people have wanted and
We have heard it.
prepared to do the research.
but it's a lot of money, the facilities, and I think we have to look at that land, right, Andy?
Yeah, well, I think at this point, I mean, the town could certainly be open to it, but it's just very ill-defined. So, I mean, does the existing private club wanna have a pool? If they come to us and say they wanna have a pool, we want you to look at our zoning, is there things that maybe need to be looked at? Okay, we can look at it. If some private investor, absent the Y, wants to have a discussion about the town park, it certainly would be in your interest to have that discussion, but there are no terms on the table, and you haven't even
Right.
identified an investor yet. And so, you know, I mean, certainly having these guys see if there's interest, it doesn't hurt. It's
Doesn't hurt,
just,
no, it doesn't
the
hurt.
devil's gonna be in the details.
Right, so we
you
just
know,
need to.
which we don't know yet.
Right, we need to refine that and develop that and investigate that, so we can come back with more facts, but, you know, here we were initially talking about one option, now we have a couple other options because of the delay perhaps in getting the Y and maybe not having the Y. Let's look for other options to satisfy what the community was asking for and see if it works. And again, the cost is really not for the town, it's only the use of the property, it's, the cost of the whole idea here is to have the developer or the Y manage the building, build the building, the town gets the benefits just by offering the property for a long-term extended year lease.
It doesn't hurt us for them to look into it, right?
I mean, certainly, if someone came forward, we would have to reach out to the state and go through that
We have
process,
to go
but
through all that
as we
process.
talked about last time, it's not really, it doesn't make sense to do that now because we don't know what the
Right.
proposal would be.
And you are talking to Ichabod.
Frank, about for developing a recreational facility, no, we have not
No.
considered that as
They
an
would do
option.
a pool.
We have not, I don't know
They,
if
they
that
had a
would work.
pool, they filled it in, and this also,
I didn't know.
you remember that?
Right.
So we're just asking for permission to continue our efforts as a Tom and Peter team, private team, going ahead and exploring
As
these
long
options.
as nothing is done that without the board knowing.
We
I
can't
mean,
do anything.
That's the
Right.
whole thing.
We
you
can't do
know.
it, we can't do anything anyway.
Well,
I say go for it.
Time flies fast, goes
Anyway,
fast too.
anyway.
Is that okay, right?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
All right, I guess consensus is to keep looking and
Okay.
keep talking. Okay,
Thank you very much.
any other public comments? Public comments, going once, going twice. Okay, we don't have any old business tonight, but we've got some new business. We don't have any we don't have any
No
applications
applications.
to use the Martin H. Glenn building finding groups. We need to recognize 2 Boy Scouts who have achieved the Eagle Scout honors, which is the highest rank a scout can achieve. Sean Parker and Bailey Waco McDermott. I believe Bailey's a resident of the village of Galatia. Sean, I can't recall, is Niagara or, I can't recall. We sent them letters, cause they've already had the event, but,
Phil went to the event
Yes,
and.
yeah.
Yeah,
did
and I
them-
read the,
Give them,
okay, does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, Kim, did you bring that resolution for the insurance? Okay, we have, as everybody knows, no, maybe not, nobody knows, but some people know, that, thank you, the town of Kinderhook pays, for retirees' health insurance. We pay 75% of the cost, and the members pay 25%. It lasts till they become 65. When they become 65, they're Medicare eligible. And what happens is the insurance, becomes the backup insurance for Medicare. So, we've got a number of retirees. We're gonna get some more, I believe. This is only for members of the highway department, and they're all members of the Teamsters Union, so that's part of our collective bargaining agreement. In the past, we've used Blue Cross Blue Shield, but in response to some questions by members about a couple of issues. We were, told, our insurance advisor, who is Steve Acciani from Ghent, looked into this for us along with Elena DeFeo-Keen, who's our labor attorney, and found that there's a program called Blue Cross Gold Plan that will save us $200 to $400 a month a member. And it's in line with what we had with Blue Shield. So I'm gonna make a resolution that it's hereby resolved that the town of Kinderhook adopts 2020 healthcare premium schedule for Blue Cross Gold Plan is currently offered. It is hereby further resolved that in accordance with the Teamsters collective bargaining agreement currently in place, the town shall obtain and provide a Blue Cross Medigap plan to eligible retirees as contractually required, so long as it has sufficient participants that may be required by the insurance company provider. So the first thing we have to do is go to the retirees and see that enough of them are willing to do this. And if they're not, well, they'll stay with Blue Shield. And so I made that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, we need to resolve to put out for bid the purchase of a 1-ton truck. This was in 2020, was discussed in the 2020 budget. It's a 1-ton truck. And the bid will be returnable, I believe, at the January 6th town board meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, does somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, we'll table the Smart Climate Community Co-op resolution to next month, to give Andy time to look at it. Does that work, Phil?
Yeah, to the end of the,
30th. The
our
30th.
Yeah.
end of the month meeting.
Okay, December 30th. Okay, that gives you enough time. I just wanna say that Phil Bickerton has been the trailblazer with climate
I'm
sensitive
not sure
issues.
trailblazer's the right word.
Well, okay, that may be in that context.
With a machete,
I would say,
hacking through the jungle.
no, I would say better to say that you've been the leader of these efforts. You got us the grant for the
Electric
charging
vehicle
station out there.
station.
Yes,
And
we
we
got
have
us that, and also wanna mention with Andy, for Andy, recognize Andy, you know, in 10 years, Andy's been the town attorney. The town has never been made to defend in a lawsuit. And that speaks very, very highly of the legal representation we get. And secondly, we've never been named in an Article 78 proceeding, which is a proceeding that comes regarding objections to the procedure that is used by this planning or zoning board. That's very, very significant because it's not only is it costly, but it also takes a lot of time away from other business to take care of those things. So I'd like to thank Andy from that.
Thank you, Andy.
I wanted to point that out and thank you, Phil, for your
Thank you,
efforts.
Phil.
Trailblazer.
My pleasure.
Machete.
Trailblazer do it without,
We get him a machete in a box.
Bill's on the committee with me.
Oh,
for
good.
instance.
Bill,
I
that's
couldn't do
okay,
it
good.
without those
Okay, good.
good people.
Okay, public comments. Are there any public comments? Yes.
If I may, Pat, I'd just like to add a really quick one that we were approached at the Felicia Community Theater by a filmmaker who has done a documentary film on Ella Fitzgerald's life and incarceration in Hudson. And he has converted that film into a play that could open in New York City, but it's gonna open instead at the Felicia Community Theater, hopefully in February or early March. Rehearsals are already taking place for it, and it's a real find for our theater to be asked to host a play of this nature in the town of Kinderhook, Village of Elation. So we're really happy about that.
Good. The
Posted
premier,
on it.
I'll offer another pack, the premier jazz singer of the 20th century, Ella Fitzgerald
Yep.
was.
There you go.
Some people are
Yeah.
too young.
You can't
to
forget.
remember.
We don't know the dates that they're gonna do it
Keep
yet.
us posted, would you, on that?
I absolutely will.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, board comments. Does anybody from the board have any questions, any comments they wanna make?
I just wanna mention one thing, this, YouTube channel doesn't have, the last several months of videos, I don't know if there's a way to
Okay,
do that.
We just had, someone come in and, show us how to do it, and, I was, I didn't do it.
okay,
That's
I
okay,
had 3 months to do it,
if you need help, let me know, I can come over one day.
okay.
okay, no problem. You'll get them on there then. Okay, media, does the media have any questions? We don't have any executive session, so in lieu of an executive session, I got some remarks I'd like to make.
Oh, God, here we go.
I wrote these out so I wouldn't forget or miss or misspeak, so I'm gonna read them to you. I apologize for doing that, but that's the only way I can handle this issue. The other night, a character in a novel that I was reading was rebuked by a lady for saying goodbye. She explained, goodbye is too final. Say see you soon instead. Well, tonight is the 120th town board meeting over which I have presided as supervisor, and is also my final monthly meeting. I agree, goodbye is too final. I want to say thanks instead. I extend my sincerest thanks to everyone who has participated in our town government for the past 10 years. I wrote a version of these remarks this past weekend in which I attempted to name everyone who deserved a thank you. After I read it, I realized that I would be thanked also for ending my way too long remarks. My thank you goes not only to town officials and employees, but also those who attended meetings, volunteered to help with town projects, and even those who were critical of my efforts. Criticism is not always bad. In fact, many times it sharpened the issues and brought a better solution, or at the very least, changed my perspective. I especially want to thank all the members of the town board, both past and present. A supervisor does not govern by royal edict, but rather with the advice and consent of the town board. It is with that advice and consent that we achieved many significant results in these past years. I'm not using the royal we, but I mean all of us, regardless of their political affiliation, who served as members of the town board and those who participated in town board. I especially want to thank the highway superintendent and the members of the highway department. They repaved over 30 town roads, including the longest and most traveled roads, Maple Lane, McCagg Road, and State Farm Road. State Farm Road is notable since, with the cooperation of Columbia County, 3-foot shoulders were installed on each side of the road, enhancing the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists. In 2013, the town of Kinderhook acquired this building at no cost. Over 20 community groups use this building and the gymnasium. I dare say that almost 500 people pass through these doors for activities, especially in the months from November to May. 2 years ago, the town rebuilt and repaved the outside basketball court, which are used on a regular basis. During my time as supervisor and when I was chairman of the Board of Supervisors, over 70 acres were transferred by Columbia County to the Friends of Lindewald, who had built walking trails and maintained those areas for many years. The town of Kinderhook also acquired an additional 72 acres at no cost to expand Volunteers Park. This brings over 140 additional acres to be used for recreational purposes in the town. In 2013, the town of Kinderhook converted the former lunchroom in this building into a courtroom, using a bench and witness stand salvaged from the demolition of the New Lebanon Town Court, and utilizing the skills of a local master carpenter, a new courtroom was created without undue expenditure. I want to mention a now deceased member of the town board, Deborah Simmonsmeyer. She and her parents were pillars of the then all-volunteer rescue squad, devoting countless hours to answering calls and dispatching ambulances. Deb brought that same diligence to the town board, holding office up to the time of her death. Her efforts in lobbying obtained a grant of $257,000 for the town of Kinderhook. That grant provided for a new diesel 10-wheel dump truck fully equipped for snow and ice control. The town took delivery of that vehicle this year. I also want to thank the past and present town board members who helped the town of Kinderhook recover from the severe financial loss that ended in 2009. The 2009 annual report showed negative balances in the fund balance for the A and DB funds of $96,100 and negative $203,334 respectively. The 2018 report showed the following fund balance. Positively, the A fund of $252,008 and the B fund of $59,471 and DB fund of $269,607. Fiscal restraint and careful budgeting has put the town and its citizens in a much more favorable position. This is not a victory lap for me personally, but as I said at the start of these remarks, we all made these improvements together. I myself was blessed to have two mentors in the School of Local Government, Nancy Bryant and Bud Conkle. Nancy served as the village